Hi guys, Bolton96 here, but the O is a 0, and in today's video I've taken a look at every single young player from every single Premier League team, and I've picked the one who I think is the best from the age of 21 and under for each Premier League team, and I've graded them between A star and D, so there's going to be a fair few interesting ones, and I might anger a few fans with my picks, but it's the way the cookie crumbles. Arsenal, Marquinhos, C. First up, and we actually have a loan signing here. Although Arsenal have a young squad, the majority are over my bracket of 21 years of age. Bukayo Saka is 22 years of age, and so we only just miss out on one of the best wingers in the league. Instead, I've had to go for another winger in Marquinhos. Arsenal signed this lad with high expectations. He hasn't been given the shot in the first team squad yet, but he has had a couple of loan spells now, and I believe the potential is there for him to become a good player in this Arsenal squad. However, as referenced, he hasn't managed to break into the first team yet, and when you see some of these players yet to be mentioned for other teams, you'll see why I couldn't possibly put Marquinhos higher than this. Aston Villa, Jean Duran, C. For Aston Villa, I've picked the 19-year-old Colombian striker Jean Duran. His physicality for a player of that age is insane. The guy is big, strong, and actually has a little bit of pace about him to boot. He has all of the physical attributes to potentially become a success in the Premier League. The point I wonder is whether he is skilled enough to fulfill that potential. I think he is a good young player. Just look at that unreal goal he scored at the start of the season for evidence of that. And given the time to develop this season, we could see a good Premier League striker here, and he could easily see a higher grading than this. But I'm not entirely convinced that his ceiling is as high as some of these other players. Bournemouth, Dango Ouattara, B. This was a tough call because you have Zabarnyi at the back, who looks to be a real solid centre-back, and you have Alex Scott, who has been injured at the start of the season, but his potential is crazy. It is possibly that injury which is keeping me from picking Scott, but given the performances that Ouattara has shown in his time in the Premier League, I think it is fair to go for him. Maybe this time next year, once we have had time to see more of Scott, I might have picked him, but for now, let's stick with Ouattara. The lad is rapid and such a tricky winger. He is a very exciting player to watch, and it has been ingrained in my mind when he played against my team Liverpool of how much of an impact he made when he came on. He caused our defence a whole host of headaches. Similar to Duran, I'm not sure if his ceiling is as high as some of the other young players in the league, but he is a definite talent, and if he can improve his goals and assists output, he could easily become the most important player for this Bournemouth side. Brentford, Kevin Schade, B. This guy is a very exciting young player. He is just so freaking fast and has the ability to cause defences real issues moving forward. He reminds me of a Serge Gnabry type, which is high praise, and if his potential finds him at that level, Brentford will have an unreal player on their hands. My criticism of him, though, he is not lethal enough in front of goal. He really needs to work on his goal output, which should improve the older he gets, you would think, but I would like to see more of it now to convince me that he deserves a higher grading at this stage. If he could finish the season with at least 7 or 8 goals in the league as a 21-year-old still learning his trade, then I would consider that a huge success and would definitely be pushing that grading up. Brighton, Evan Ferguson, A star. It is absolute testament to Brighton that they have so many players who could fit into this category and will probably be top pick for most teams. And Cisco and Dingra, Baliba and Verbruggen are all worthy of a mention, but there is one man who is head and shoulders above the rest. Evan Ferguson is absolutely brilliant. The physicality that Ferguson has as a 19-year-old is outrageous. And by the way, he has literally only just turned 19 last week, so everything we have seen so far has been as an 18-year-old or younger. This lad is clinical, and to be in that extremely exclusive club of teenagers who score a hat-trick in the league is nothing to scoff at. He is playing fantastically now, but you can just see how high this guy's ceiling is, and if he achieves it, we could be looking at a world-class player of the future. Burnley, James Trafford, B. The hype around Trafford after the Under-21s Euros earlier this year, and particularly that penalty save 98 minutes into the final, was huge, and you can see why Burnley was so willing to stump up the cash for him. Was it too much hype? Maybe. Was it too much money? No, I don't think so. To get a young homegrown goalkeeper with talent as big as Trafford's is a hard thing, and you are always going to have to cough up the change for them. The guy is an obvious talent, and I do hope for the future of the England national team that he can grow into one of the top keepers in the league. Chelsea, Moises Caicedo, A. This was so ridiculously hard. Chelsea's spending over the past 18 months has meant that they have an entire abundance of players who could fall into this category. Maatsen, Gusto, Lavia, Chukwuemeka, Palmer, Madueke, Colwill, and of course, the most expensive English transfer of all time, Moises Caicedo. When I was trying to decide who to pick, I was seriously going to leave out Caicedo and go for Levi Colwill. I think Colwill would be top pick for nearly every team on this list, but I can't be ignoring Caicedo. He is clearly an absolutely fantastic player, and although his short time at Chelsea hasn't been as out of this world as most would have hoped, I am certain he will continue to grow and establish himself as one of the best central defensive mids, not just in the league, but in Europe. Crystal Palace, Michael Olise. Michael Olise is a top player, and the fact that he committed himself to Crystal Palace this summer following the bid from Chelsea is a massive boon to Palace. He has unfortunately been injured at the start of this season, but looking even just at last season, the lad is immense. He directly contributed to 13 goals in 37 appearances in a season where Palace only scored 40 in the league all season. To directly contribute to 32.5% of your team's goals in a season is huge, particularly as a 21-year-old. His goal scoring output does need to improve, with only 2 of those 13 being goals he scored himself, but for the sheer amount of chances created, this lad is top draw. Everton, Jarrad Branthwaite, B. 9 teams down, and we are on to our first defender of the list. In truth, he was the only real option for Everton, but what a great option he is. Branthwaite showed his talents very recently on the biggest stage in the Merseyside derby, arguably being the best player on the pitch and holding off Liverpool's deadly attack for the majority of the game. I knew after his loan in Holland last season that he was going to come straight into this Everton team, and he is for sure a player with a bright future ahead of him. He is a towering centre-back and is a real presence at the back for them. I'm interested to see how his season progresses and how highly he'll be valued in a year's time. Fulham, Luke Harris, D. Our first D grading of the list, and it goes to 18-year-old Luke Harris. D feels like a harsh grading for any of these young players breaking out, and it isn't a grading to downplay their talents or potential, but I've got to judge each of these players against each other. And does Luke Harris stack up to the likes of Evan Ferguson and Moises Caicedo of current ability and potential? Not in my eyes. The lad is obviously very talented, having broke into the first team this season and having made a handful of appearances across all competitions so far. I would like to see more of him, and hopefully he can really show his talents, but for now, I've got to put him at the bottom of this list. Liverpool, Ryan Gravenberch, A. On to Liverpool now, and there were a few candidates for this one who I could have easily picked. Quansah has looked a real talent when he has played this season. Doak has so much potential, and we all know the abilities of Bajcetic and Elliott, but I've got to go for the new boy. I think it has been forgotten just how young this lad is. When people are questioning his time at Bayern and for not being a starter, he joined when he was just 20 years of age and was competing against the likes of Goretzka and Kimmich for a starting spot. Even then, he still managed 25 appearances for the team. That isn't half bad. His breakout season with Ajax had him looking like the next Paul Pogba, and he has shown glimpses in his first few games for Liverpool that the ability is there. I think he gets into most teams in the league as is, but his potential is absolutely huge, and if he can hit that ceiling, he's going to be phenomenal for Liverpool. Luton, Tayden Mengi, D. Another player who I'm grading as a D now, and again, it isn't a slight on his ability or talent, but I think we still need to see a lot more of Mengi to decide whether he can stack up to the likes of some of these other players. A new signing at Luton, he is going to have his work cut out for him this season. It isn't easy as a young player in a new team in the league, never mind one that is fighting for survival, but I think it will be a good test of just how good he is and could be. He is going to get the chances at Luton, and if he can take them, I'll be happy to reconsider this grading. Manchester City, Josko Gvardiol, A star. Rico Lewis and Jeremy Doku will be first pick for most teams, and I don't think anyone would have argued too much if I picked either of them. But there is no sleeping on Josko Gvardiol on my watch. Currently, I would say he is one of the best centre-backs in the world, never mind just in the league. He's absolutely immense. Big, strong, fast, good with his feet. He has everything. The lad was one of the players of the World Cup, and I think he is just going to keep on on improving from here. I wouldn't be surprised if within a year or two we will be able to say outright that he is the best centre-back in the world. Manchester United's Alejandro Garnacho. This may or may not be a controversial pick based solely on the fact that I could have gone for £72 million man Højlund, but realistically so far Garnacho has shown more to be deserving of a top pick for the Manchester United young players. Garnacho has shown much talent and is a really exciting player. It's a joy to watch him dribbling up and down that flank, and he has actually propped up with the odd important goal even at such a young age. If he can keep up the development and progression, he will be on their most important members of the team. I think United a real player on their hands with this one. Newcastle United, Tino Livramento B. I know the Geordies really rate Elliot Anderson, but I think Livramento has shown more so far in his career. Straight off the bat, we have to acknowledge the injury history though, which is an issue and hopefully not, but it actually could be the downfall of his career. If Livramento can get past these injury issues, however, he is going to be a top player. He already looked so exciting for Southampton, but now he is playing in a better team and acting as understudy to one of the best right backs in the world currently in Kieran Trippier. He is going to learn so much from Trippier, and eventually I'm sure he will be able to take the baton on and be starting right back for Newcastle within the next couple of seasons. Nottingham Forest, Anthony Elanga B. Forest have a few exciting players of the age of 21 or younger, and I could have easily been picking one of them, but I've decided to go for Elanga. He's definitely the most experienced player at this level for Forest within this age bracket, and he has shown his talent on more than one occasion, whether it be for Forest now or for United previously. As with many young players, he really does need to improve his goal output, but all the makings for an excellent winger are there. He is fast, direct, tricky, and can cause problems in the final third. If he can just become a bit more clinical and turn a couple more of those chances into goals, he'll be an absolute star. Sheffield United, Cameron Archer C. Cameron Archer has a real chance to become a big player for Sheffield United. I've seen him for a few years now coming up through Villa, and particularly during his loan spells at Preston and Middlesbrough. The lad has clear talent, which he has shown in the Championship, but can he do it in the Premier League? So far he has one goal to his name in the league this season. We are going to have to see more from him to truly decide whether he is going to be a success and worth the money paid for him. The ability is there. I just hope his career goes a better way with Sheffield United than the similar signing Ryan Brewster has done before him. Spurs, Destiny Udogie A. After being out on loan last season, Udogie has come back and started this season really impressively and cemented himself within this new look team. Powerful runner and attack-minded, he suits the Spurs system nicely, and he is quickly proving to be an important member of this team, having started every game and having played 94% of the possible minutes in the league so far this season. 2 assists to his name as well puts him at a ratio of 1 assist every 4 games. That's a solid turnaround for a left-back. At only 20 years of age, his value currently sits around 35 million, and you can see why. Fantastic player, and I only see his development going up from here. West Ham, Divin Mubamba D. Another player down in the D category here. I was surprised when looking back over the West Ham team to realise there was absolutely no one who is in that starting squad under the age of 21. I've had to go for a bit of an unknown in Mubamba, who so far this season has played 25 minutes of senior football in cup competitions. There isn't a lot I can say about this lad. He is clearly right at the start of his career, and you would like to think it is only going to improve from here on out. Keep the development up, get a few games under your belt, and maybe we can revisit this next season. Wolves, Hugo Bueno C. Last player of this list now, and I do like this one. He has some real talent, does Bueno, and I think we will get to see a lot more from him as the season plays out. He's actually a very similar player to his left-back colleague in Rayan Aït-Nouri. Both have decent pace, both are good dribblers, and both like to attack up the pitch. They are good characteristics to have from your wing-backs, and I do see a bright future for Bueno. He isn't playing as much as Aït-Nouri at the minute, but the manager is giving him some runouts, and he clearly believes in Bueno's ability. I'll be very interested to see over the course of the season if he can begin to balance out that share of minutes and cement himself more in the starting squad. So there we have it, guys. Are you happy with the grading I gave to your team's wonder kid? Let me know down in the comments below, and please do remember to like and subscribe, and check me out across all of my other socials. I am on Twitch, TikTok, Twitter, now X, Instagram, and YouTube, where you're watching this video, all under the same handle, Bolts96, but the O0. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.